everybody. Welcome to the 15th and final session of the Risky Business 2023. It's great to have you with us. I'm your host, Ed Davis from Turnkey, Australia. We've covered a lot of ground over the last 2 days and heard from a lot of great thought leaders in our space. I've been blown away by some of the excellent content that's been presented, but we've saved some of the best sessions for last. So our topic for this session is the future of SAP GRC. And I'd like to welcome Thomas Frennerhard, Senior GRC and Cybersecurity Solution Manager from SAP. Welcome, Thomas.
Thank you very much, Ed, and thank you for having me today. It's really a pleasure being here.
Oh, no, thank you for joining us. We've known each other for quite a while now. I think you came to Melbourne in around 2017.
Correct.
And a fun fact is that Thomas and I actually did a tour of New Zealand when GRC 12 was launched and gave some customer presentations in Auckland and Wellington.
That was pre-COVID when we could travel freely.
I know, it seems like an age ago. And Thomas, I think you've been at SAP in both the UK and Australia for a total of about 12 years now. So about the same time I've been at Turnkey.
Very true. Exactly. 6 in the UK and 6 in Australia. So I'm exactly at the halfway.
Yep. Fantastic. So I guess you must have seen a lot of change over that time in the GRC space. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. The format for this session is Q&A style. I'll be asking Thomas a few questions and having a bit of a discussion around particularly some of the trends happening in the GRC market. So Thomas, from your unique perspective at SAP, what are some of those trends from both a functional and a technological perspective that you're seeing?
Well, you're right. The GRC function itself has changed over the last few years, and actually there has been an acceleration, I'd say, since COVID. First of all, I'm seeing more and more GRC departments being involved in external risks. By that, I mean natural catastrophes, political instability, acts of violence, and so on and so forth. Of course, they were already in the enterprise risk management framework, but GRC teams are really asked to chip in a lot more. But also, what has changed, and that's probably due to COVID. During COVID, a lot of companies had to reinvent themselves, create new business models, and so on and so forth, subscription economy. And whereas GRC was only asked at the end to provide a risk assessment, they're now, since the very beginning, the design of the new economical model to be able to provide support on what it means in terms of threats, but also opportunities. And that goes along with the digital transformation, of course, because these business models are fueled by digital transformation. And whereas cybersecurity and data privacy and protection was an afterthought in most digital transformation projects 5 or 6 years ago, it is now embedded in the design since day one. And the very last thing where I think GRC functions have changed is in terms of growing relationships. With COVID, there was a complete reorganization of the supply chain of the business partners, and companies had to create new relationships very quickly, but still making sure that they were doing business with people they were supposed to. So ethical parties, but also validated and so on and so forth. So that's for the functional aspect. Now, if we go to the technology side, companies have realized that they had a lot of scattered information platforms. Risk information was in various data platforms a bit everywhere, and they're now trying to bring everything back together. Let's call it cross-system integration. Specifically, when we're talking about process intelligence, and you know, of course, that SAP has invested massively in process intelligence. Well, our customers are saying, well, wait a second, we want this process intelligence to fuel GRC because we've got the process design. We want to understand where the deficiency happens. And last but not least, I think what everybody is trying to achieve in the very near future is what a lot of analysts, so I won't take this for myself, it was created by people much more intelligent than I am, that have called autonomous GRC, and I know Turnkey was one of the precursors in this. GRC runs in the background, and only when there's an anomaly, a deficiency, is the risk owner or the control owner alerted that something has gone wrong. I think these are the major trends that I'm seeing on the markets.
Yeah, okay. No, that sounds like a great development if we can get to that position. So what impact are you seeing for companies in the APAC region of some of the recent cybersecurity regulatory updates, such as, for example, the US Securities and Exchange Commission's cybersecurity disclosure?
Hey, it's going to be a major one, and I know the SEC is pretty far away. It's in the US, so a lot of the companies I talk to tell me, "Oh, it's okay. It's a US regulation." From my perspective, and I think it could be the equivalent of SOX, but for cybersecurity. And you know as well as I do, right? SOX has been pervasive in every regulation, in every country. A lot of countries have got financial compliance regulations. Well, I think this regulation from the US has the possibility of becoming something like that. But it's not isolated. Australian, for instance, have the Privacy Act and the data breach notification that was enforced quite recently. And I know that the Australian Securities and Investment Commission has been mentioning that they will double down on this, specifically in the light of the recent cyber issues that we've had in Australia. But they're not the only ones. And actually, I'm not sure they are the ones who are enforcing it the most. We're seeing India, South Korea, Singapore, Malaysia, and so on and so forth, creating dedicated regulation, specifically in terms of data privacy. And I do think that this is going to be very an area to watch in the very near future. And interestingly, the National Institute of Standard Technologies in the US has said that cybersecurity and enterprise risk management should be merging. But even before they said that, we saw a lot of APAC companies already starting this roadmap. And what is even more interesting is I work with companies in Europe, of course. Some of them weren't ready for GDPR, whereas in some APAC countries, some companies were already ready because they knew that the regulation, if it was enforced in Europe, would come very soon to their region as well.
Yeah, no, definitely makes sense to try and be on the front foot rather than playing catch up with regulations. So no, thanks for those insights. I'd like to turn now to a bit more of a product discussion. And I'm sure many people in our audience are very familiar with SAP GRC, currently version 12. And I understand that SAP are working on 2 new solutions, GRC on HANA and GRC in the cloud. So could you please tell us a little bit more about those?
I can. And actually, maybe we should have, from the SAP side, made a bit more communication, being clear on what is GRC. GRC is a solution portfolio, and you're right. We now have two products. We have GRC 12, which you all know, access control, process control, that has been then enhanced with audit management and so on and so forth. And this solution is available on-premise, but also in private cloud. And in the future, we're working on a GRC on HANA that will be launched in Q1 2016, which will be the successor of GRC 12, and I think we'll have a bit of a more discussion on that. And we're also working on public cloud solutions. These are dedicated solutions which answer specific needs. So they do not need to run on GRC 12. They're very specific, and for these we have solutions like SAP Identity Access Governance, SAP Financial Compliance Management, or SAP Watchlist Screening. They each address a very specific need of the customer and run by themselves. So you'll see in the future that we'll be maintaining and enhancing these 2 lines for those customers who decide to go full public cloud, and for those customers who decide to continue with us on the private cloud or have a historic GRC on-premise and moving to the cloud and want to keep this investment. So this is what we're working on in the future and keeping them. And it's not one against the other. I do not see one technology against the other. It's really depending on what the customer requirements are. And the last thing to take into account is there a specific regulation like data sovereignty or data residency that the customer needs to keep in mind before they make a choice of a solution?
No, 100%. Thank you for shining a bit of light on that for us. So for those customers that are running the current GRC 12 solution, that's reaching end of mainstream maintenance at the end of 2027, as far as I understand. So will they be able to continue with those solutions?
Yes, of course. It's undeniable. We've got thousands of customers on SAP GRC solutions, and we're not going to abandon them. It's impossible. So of course we're gonna continue, and there are continuous enhancements and support packs to these solutions. But as you've just mentioned, GRC on HANA, which was announced I think earlier this year, I think in March or April, I wrote the blog, will be the successor to GRC 12. And what it means is that we'll be redesigning this solution. So we'll be leveraging, of course, SAP Fiori, but redesigning the workflows. And this solution will be a brand new solution, if you want, with augmented decision making, with automated key insights, and so on and so forth, but also a fully redesigned technical and functional architecture so that customers and companies can quickly adapt the platform to new regulatory requirements. And there are new regulatory requirements in every single region, but also business process adaptations. What we're also hoping is to be able to provide proactive risk management with more data-driven insights to business owners. And last but not least, one key item that has been on the product management roadmap is an effortless upgrade path from GRC 12 to GRC on HANA, so that customers can benefit from it very quickly, so that it's not a multi-year project that is unbearable, something pretty straightforward. And last but not least, we're still keeping the same hats within open ecosystems for our partners like yourselves, Turnkey, who have been helping us so much on the previous solutions and so on. And the very last thing I'd like to mention on this one is you mentioned 2027 for the end of maintenance. You're right, but we're also working on adding it up to 2028 to give customers an extra year to be able to migrate. So this is not yet official, but this is what we're aiming and working on at the moment.
All right, okay. I'm sure some customers will be pleased to hear that, but also at the same time very interested in the new products. So I guess talking about those new products, will it be an opportunity for customers and partners like ourselves to influence the direction of the new products? And if so, how could we contribute to defining the scope of the new versions?
That's a great question. And you may have seen a blog that I published on GRC Tuesdays where I mentioned that the functional scope will be the same, but nevertheless, we will be taking input from customers, partners, analysts, any interested party. The way we're going to do it is still not defined yet. We're still working on the planning, but the most likely approach will be a customer innovation program or customer engagement initiative, like the one that I'm pretty sure customers on the line today know, where we already run them for process control, risk management, access control. They basically register to the program. They propose their enhancements. We don't deliver all of them, unfortunately. But what happens is customers vote for the most important ones, and then this helps our product management prioritize which are the areas that we'll be investing in. I wish we could do everything, but unfortunately, it's impossible. So we basically have to prioritize, and this will be announced hopefully very soon. I spoke with my product management colleagues last week. They're finalizing this, and as soon as it's final, we'll be announcing it, of course, in blogs, but also the dedicated channels. And I'm pretty sure Turnkey will be one of the first to be notified, and you can notify your customers as well.
Yeah, great, absolutely. No, we'd love to participate in that, and along with the customers, help to define the future roadmap and address all of the requirements that are coming through, ever evolving regulations and other challenges that we're all facing. So you mentioned that you'll be putting out the program or publishing it soon. How can we help our customers stay up to date with the latest developments in GRC solutions?
As for the debate on GRC 12 and GRC on HANA and so on and so forth, sometimes we SAP are not very clear and do not communicate efficiently. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And I know that partners like Turnkey are aware of the new enhancements because we make you aware, because you monitor every single publication that we make. So I think this is the first thing where partners can help customers adapt latest developments. They can raise to the customer's attention that there are new enhancements, new features, new functionalities that most often do not need a new license. It's just embedded in the product. You just need to activate it. And I know that a lot of meetings I have with customers, they say, oh, I wish this was possible. And it actually is, but it's just that it's in a support pack that they don't have, or they don't even know it exists. So partners can really help us make customers aware that in every support pack there are innovations. But then what I think is the new role of partners is extended SAP. I've always said partners are our extended arm, but this becomes even truer, if I can use this word, in the cloud environment. In the on-premise environment, partners were really much systems integrator. So you had the best practices to implement quickly, to implement best practice and so on and so forth. But in the cloud, it's a lot more than an activation. It's the content that makes the cloud a powerful solution. And for this, first of all, we won't be delivering all the controls for every single business process. We don't know what they are, and we do not have the ability to do that. But our partners are very close to our customers, and they will be providing content to customers to better adapt the situation, the solution. Sorry. For instance, we made an enhancement called the Content Hub. The Content Hub is integrated to our cloud solutions, specifically financial compliance management. And I know that Turnkey is working on it to be able to provide package content to say there is a new regulation. Here will be the controls that you need to monitor and the automation, and customers will be able to adopt them very quickly. And I know that you guys have even had a starter pack for SAP Financial Compliance Management, which you made available on the SAP store. So I think it's store.sap.com. If you type in Turnkey, you'll find it straight away. But I think this is the future role of partners, not moving away from a technical partner, because you will still be very helpful to our customers in doing that, but taking this extra hat and becoming nearly a content provider or a content advisor for partners, for a customer, sorry.
Yeah, no, thanks, Thomas. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. That is the role that we play for our customers, being that trusted advisor and helping them, guiding them in the right way to use the products and to get the most out of them. And often it is, through our experience of previous projects and developing content and being able to just deploy things rapidly and efficiently to help them to get the most out of it. So,
and actually, something that you mentioned just now, the customer advisor, you're right, you're the advisors. And another role that I see you playing is coming to us with the feedback from customers directly, because the customer engagement programs run every so often. But sometimes you would like to raise that a customer is, or your pool of customers are facing such and such issue, and you have a direct line to our teams. So I think this is also something, you're advisors to the customers, but also advisors to SAP on what we should be working on as well.
Yeah, that's right. It's always great to have a direct line and be able to contact people in there and have our thoughts heard and the wishes of the customers. So just at this point, I just want to pause and see if there are any questions from the audience. If you have any questions, please just type them in the box on your screen, and Thomas and I will endeavour to answer them.
Don't be shy. Every question is a great question.
All right, so maybe while we're just waiting for some questions to come through, one of the things I've heard mentioned a number of times throughout the last couple of days on our Risky Business event is artificial intelligence. So does SAP have any plans to integrate any AI into GRC in the future?
AI, the big topic of AI. And you may have heard our CEO announcing Joule, which is a co-pilot for the ERP. Yes, of course, there are plans for AI. We're investigating different use cases. So AI is a large topic, right? You've got machine learning, you've got natural language processing, you've got generative AI, and so on and so forth. And we already have some AI cases embedded in our solutions. For instance, there is already machine learning in business intelligence screening to be able to close false positives. There is already predictive analytics, which is often forgotten as the beginning of AI for predictive scenarios to find frauds. But we're also working on a bit more. And there was also, I think, one in identity access governance for role design, for instance. But we're also working on some investigating new AI cases, specifically to identify duplicate controls, or to identify redundant controls or controls that should be proposed in addition to a risk. So not yet a roadmap item, we're still investigating, but SAP has got a massive stake in generative AI, for instance, and we're trying to understand how we can leverage it. Now, we have to be clever on doing it. We do not want to do AI for the sake of doing AI. I remember back in 2015, we used natural language processing to identify social intelligence, sentiment intelligence, sorry, it was called. So whether it's something is being positively said or negatively said. And we used that to create automated key risk indicators. It was a fantastic use case. Technically, it was brilliant. No customer adopted it because at that time, it was way too early. So we have also to listen to our customers, and we want to make sure that we do the right thing. We do something that customers will adopt, that will be beneficial to them, not just a marketing PowerPoint thing.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Thanks, Thomas. Don't think any questions have come through yet from the audience. So maybe if I can just give you one last one without notice. RISE for SAP and GRC, how will they play together?
I see them as being interconnected, as being integrated, basically. You may recall back, so when you joined Turnkey and I joined SAP, it was the time of what we call no naked ERP. So you couldn't have an ERP with SAP all provisions. That would be so dangerous. That's why we said you have to have access control with every single ERP. It makes you secure. Well, I think the very same should be said about RISE. RISE is the transformation, the ERP transformation, right? But would you take an ERP without securing the data, without securing the access? So cybersecurity, access governance, but also financial reporting are critical. And that's for established companies. Now, within RISE, there is also a program called GROW, which is for mid-sized companies, so SMEs, for instance. They also have specific needs for GRC, and it's not the same as the needs for large companies. But in case they want to go IPO, or in case they want to raise capital and so on and so forth, they have to show that their financial reporting are sound and clear. So they basically have to put in place internal controls. They have to put in place anti-fraud, access controls to make sure that the right segregations are provided and so on and so forth. So we are already providing packages specifically to these customers, tailoring the right solutions. So we basically have, first of all, go to market to tell a customer, this is your typical size, this is your typical industry, this is your typical requirements. Here is what we propose. We don't impose, of course not, but we propose to adopt these solutions. And I think this will continue in the future. So I'm lucky enough to be put in charge of this program for GRC, and I'm drilling down into SME requirements, but also RISE requirements to make sure that we don't come with a huge list of impossible achievements, but we really advise customers on what best to adopt. I hope that answers and didn't make it more complicated.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay, I think we'll conclude the discussion with Thomas there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you coming on board today and sharing your insights with us from SAP. Very much appreciated. And
my pleasure.
Thank you. If there are any questions from the audience, you can shoot them through to info@turnkeyconsulting.com, and we'll be happy to answer those for you. And just as the final session of the conference, I just want to let people know that the recordings of the sessions will be available soon. So if you've missed anything, you can go back and watch those. And just wanted to call out a special thanks to our customers who presented today, Device Technologies and Petra, for sharing their stories, and to all of the Turnkey participants who were involved with organising this and presenting in the sessions. And also a big thank you to all of our sponsors from today, which included RevTrack, Diligent, Beyond Trust, Ping, and SAP. So it's been a pleasure having you with us, and we really hope you've enjoyed Risky Business for 2023. See you next year.
Thank you.